Hi, and welcome to Home Assistant How-To with Bearded Tinker. Today we're going to play with two SwitchBot devices, but they are not curtains. This time we're going to play with the humidifier and the meter, or so-called temperature and humidity meter. We'll start in a couple of seconds. Before we go into today's video, let me first thank all the members who have joined the YouTube channel. Thank you very much for all of your support. And thanks also to everybody who watched, liked or subscribed to my channel. If you too want to support the channel, you can do so by clicking the join button down below. Thanks, and let's get started with today's video. First, let me start with a full disclosure. This device, but also the meter and the Mini Hub were sent to me without any further charge, well, except the VAT I had to pay, by the SwitchBot company. They did want me to do review of the curtain, but I said thank you but no thanks. I will not be doing any curtain video so soon as my apartment doesn't have a single curtain. Well, not just that, but there are already a lot of videos on that. Then I started browsing to the product lists, and one of the products I did like, especially since this is a season that probably most of the homes that are now in the upper hemisphere or the northern hemisphere should have at least one of their home, and this is humidifier. There are a couple of features that this humidifier does have that others do not have or are a bit different. First of all, this one is pretty large one. It holds 3.5 liters, and that's okay because it gives a lot more autonomy than if it would be, for example, half a liter or liter of water or liquid inside. Second thing that I like is that it has Bluetooth, but also Wi-Fi connection. And everything is better with Bluetooth, so when you have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, it should be double the better. The installation of the device is pretty simple. On the base of the device, you add the holder or the tank for the water, and then you install the cover. And the last step, of course, is to connect it to electricity. This device can function as a standard standalone non-smart device, meaning hook up the power, add water, press the button, and depending on how many presses you press, it will provide you with minimum, medium or maximum amount of moisture or vapor. There is one additional thing that I like about this device, and this is this small drawer. You open it up and you can add scents there, and it gives nice smell to the room. There are two ways to make this device smart. First, you can just hook it up to the SwitchBot app, and it works both on Android and iOS. But today we will be covering on how to integrate it inside Home Assistant and without using any Bluetooth device for that. For this we will be using the API. The link to the official API is down in the description of the video. But as you can see, it is very nicely written and there are a lot of information for each of the supported devices. Please note, for this to completely work as it should work, you have to have three devices. One is a humidifier, which itself can work without any other additional device. But if you want to use meter as additional sensor, have this data in Home Assistant 24/7, you will need a Mini Hub. Why? Because the humidifier, as I mentioned previously, does already have a Wi-Fi connection and it can sync up data with cloud, and we will be pulling that data from cloud by using the API. On the other hand, the meter doesn't have that functionality and it needs your mobile phone to sync data with that. So we need a Mini Hub which will allow us to collect data from the meter, temperature and humidity meter, and sync it also with cloud, so we can get also that data back inside Home Assistant. And as I mentioned, we will be using this API. If we follow the getting started, what we have to do is download the SwitchBot app, which you probably already did, register the SwitchBot account and log into your account, then you have to generate the token. And in order to do so, you have to go to Profile, Preferences, tap the app version 10 times and the new developer menu should then be visible. Go inside that menu and just copy your token. Remember, we will need this token inside Home Assistant. For the next step, we need to use command line interface, And the easiest way for me to do it is to go to Home Assistant terminal and there copy following code. And this code is really curl command with -h for header, authorization, and here is your token that you copied from the app. Then we have the URL, which is https and the following address. Press enter and you will receive a list of all devices that have been synced to your account. And here I have 3 devices. One device is humidifier and this is the information for this device. The second device is device type meter. And the third device is Hub Mini. To integrate inside Home Assistant, what we need to copy device ID for the humidifier, because this can work with the humidifier only. But if you already have meter, you can copy also device ID from the meter. While we are here and we already have device ID for the humidifier, what we can do is we can get the status, and status can help us define which JSON variables we can use further on in Home Assistant. I'll just paste here the command. The command once again is curl or curl, header authorization, our API key, the same URL, but this time we added the device ID followed by status. If we press enter, we receive the status code and the body of the JSON that contains device ID, device type, hub device ID, nebulization efficiency, which tells us what the mist type is. Is it minimum, maximum, or medium? Humidity level, auto, meaning the vent, is it working in automatic mode or not? Child lock, sound for the press of the button, is the device turned on or off? Current temperature, and if there is a lack of water or no, meaning lack of water means there is water inside. And message for success. Now we will use this to create sensors and switches inside Home Assistant. For the first step, I would definitely recommend that you go inside your secrets YAML file and add a couple of lines. SwitchBot humidity on. This is the string that you must call in order to turn the device on. Then we have SwitchBot humidity off. This is the string that we call from the Home Assistant in order to turn device off. All of these commands are listed on my GitHub repository, and the link to the issue where I have described all the steps contained in this video will be in the description of this video. The next URL we are calling is SwitchBot Humidifier. And if you remember, we just did the same thing from the terminal and it gives us status of device. And we will be using this to create binary sensors and sensors inside Home Assistant through the help of JSON files. If you have SwitchBot Meter, you can use this line, just replace device ID with the device ID of the meter to pull the same data from the meter itself. And it gives you information in JSON format about the current temperature and the humidity. Don't forget to change the API token to the API token that you pulled from the app, and also replace these device IDs here for turn on and turn off with the device IDs of the humidifier. Next, activate the RESTful integration if you already didn't do so. I have it here and it's calling the subdirectory called REST. In the switches section of your configuration YAML file, just add following. We have platform command line, then we say that we are creating switches, and the switches will be for SwitchBot Humidifier. We have command on, which is our secret command called SwitchBot Humidifier on or hum on, and we have command off, which is also in the secrets file. This is the SwitchBot hum for humidifier off. Friendly name is SwitchBot Humidifier. This will create a switch with on and off action, and with each change of the action or press of the button, it will call either power on or power off of our humidifier. Just remember, the link to all the code is down in the description of the video. So if you want to copy this, instead of looking at the screen, you can go to my GitHub issue where I have copied the code. Also, it will be linked to my current code where you can check if I tweaked something or not. For the sensors and binary sensors, for both humidifier and meter, we'll be using JSON, as I mentioned previously. So you have to create two REST commands. One will be resource secret, calling the SwitchBot Humidifier, and this is that status, device ID plus status, for each of those, humidifier and meter. Method will be get. Scan interval is 900. And why is it 900? Currently, if I'm not mistaken, there is a limit of 1000 calls to the API. And I just wanted to make sure that with all the pings or pulling the data for each of those two devices, I do not run out into issues, especially since I'm currently working also on a third device, and I believe that that device can consume a lot of API calls if you get used to it. So I limit it to 90 seconds interval, which is 15 minutes, and that means that the status for both humidifier and meter is updated every 15 minutes. If you want, you can lower that to 10 minutes or even 2 minutes. But remember, you have a limit of 1000 API calls. Next step is to define the authorization, or how our call will authorize itself to the API. We'll be using headers. Authorization will be in the secrets file, and we'll be calling SwitchBot API key, and this is the API key you got from the app. For the content type, we will define this as application JSON. Now comes the fun part. Sensor. We name it. I call this SwitchBot Humidifier JSON, and we will be using this later on in switches and binary sensors, so I wanted to make sure that each of those devices I can later on easily find. I have manufacturer, device name, and this will be JSON. Value template is value_JSON.body. JSON attribute path is body because body contains all the temperature, humidity, power on, whatever status for the device, so we'll be using that one. For JSON attributes, I've called here all the values that you can get from the JSON file. This is device ID, device type, nebulization efficiency. Try saying that 5 times fast. I can't. This is the efficiency of the atomizer for the water. Humidity, auto, child lock, sound, power, temperature, and lack water. I myself wouldn't call this lack water, but yeah. If you have just humidifier, this is all you need. If you also have a meter, and I really do recommend having a meter, because the values for humidity were much higher in the humidifier than just 1 meter away, and I did check that with 2 additional devices. Why? I presume because the humidifier itself creates a lot of humidity, the sensor is off around 10 to 12%. If you also have a SwitchBot meter, you would do mostly the same what you did previously. You would just get following attributes: device ID, device type, humidity, and temperature. For the sensors, in the sensor section of your configuration YAML file, or inside sensor.yaml file, or inside the individual file, depending on what type of configuration you are using, add platform template, sensors, and then we will create 3 sensors. One will be temperature, the second one will be humidity, and the third one will be nebulization. You can define the friendly name. Unit of measurement will be, at least for us here, degrees centigrade. And device class is temperature. And for value template, we are using states, sensor, SwitchBot Humidifier JSON. We are pulling the attribute temperature. The same thing goes for the humidity, where we are pulling attribute humidity. And for nebulization, we are pulling the attribute nebulization efficiency. Those two have units of measurement percentage, and device class for humidity is humidity. For the nebulization, there is no device class. And by doing so, we now have 3 sensors inside Home Assistant, besides the switch we previously created. If you have meter, you can do the same thing here. Platform template, create 2 sensors. One will be meter temperature and the other one will be meter humidity. The first one will be pulling the temperature attribute and the second one will be pulling attribute humidity. And the last is to create binary sensors. And for humidifier you can create 1, 2, 3, 4 binary sensors. First one will be child lock, and we are pulling child lock attribute from the JSON for humidifier. The second one will be humidifier sound. Then we have power to get the status of the power and the lack water. You can use lack water for automation to get notified if there is no water inside humidifier. Power can be used to check if the device has turned on or off. Sound, I don't know what would you do with that, and the child lock, same thing. But now, if you restart your Home Assistant, you should get a lot of devices inside Home Assistant. And by lot, I mean 4 binary sensors, 3 sensors, and 1 switch for humidifier, and 2 sensors for meter device. When you add everything to Home Assistant Lovelace UI, this is how it can potentially look. But I'm no designer. So we have switch here that you can use to control the power or turn the device off or turn the device on. Here you have information about the humidity, temperature, and the humidifier nebulization atomizer. This information here is pulled every 15 minutes or depending on what you set up inside your Home Assistant. So even if you turn the device off, it will take at least 15 minutes or less for it to be changed here in the status. The second device we have added is the SwitchBot Meter, and you can see the meter temperature and the meter humidity. These two devices are about meter or meter and a half apart. And you can see the difference. Currently it's only 6%, but as I mentioned previously, I've seen the 10+% difference. So if you want to control the humidifier, I would recommend that you have either SwitchBot Meter or some other temperature and humidity sensor nearby but not close enough for it to be the one that will be turning this on or off. And yes, you can use automations to turn it on and off. You can also use the notifications if the humidity water changes to not okay, so you get notified when the device is empty. But there are a lot of additional things that you can do. For example, you can do the automations based on time, based on the humidity level, etc. As the heating season has started, it's good to regulate the humidity inside your house. It should be around 50%, or experts say between 40 and 60. Everything more than 60 is not that healthy anymore, and everything below 40% is too dry. So using SwitchBot Humidifier and the Home Assistant to regulate your humidity is really a great thing. Remember, for this to work, you need to buy the SwitchBot Humidifier, and if you want to use the SwitchBot Meter besides the humidifier, you will need a Mini Hub. And this is it for this Home Assistant how-to with Bearded Tinker. I really do hope that you did enjoy this video, and if you did find it useful and interesting, please give me a thumbs up, because it not just means a lot to me, but it also helps with the YouTube algorithms. If you have any kind of a comment, question in regard to this video or any previous video I did, or you have idea for any future videos, leave a comment down in the comment section below or reach me on the Discord server. Please note that YouTube comments still have issues and that they sometimes disappear. I'm sorry for that, but it's out of my control. I would once again like to thank SwitchBot for sending me those devices free of charge to play with them and integrate inside Home Assistant. If you still haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell button so you get notified on the future video updates and streams, and there is the upcoming streams probably in a couple of days, unless my war on power supplies will not be delivered tomorrow. I'll be seeing you next time. Until then, bye bye and have fun.